Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Nelson, and I have a super awesome guest with me today who is, although we've not known each other for very long, he's quickly become a very important part of my clinical world and as a friend. So I'd love to introduce my good friend, Dr. Lowell Keppel. Dr. Keppel, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, Rhonda. Thank you very much.
Well, we have had lots of conversations back and forth about all things clinical, and both of us love and use the same supplement company, which is Standard Process, and we're both a little bit fanatical about that, but that's an aside for another day, another conversation. But what I know about Lowell is that he is as passionate about helping clinicians as he is about helping his patients. And that is a commonality that the two of us have, because that is really where my passion is as well. So I asked him if he would join us today on the podcast and share about his role in mentoring clinicians and why, our topic really today, Lowell, is why is having a mentor so important, especially, I think it's important anywhere, but especially in the clinical setting. So I'd love to hear your experience. Why are you so passionate about providing mentorship and helping other clinicians?
I think because of my experience and not really having somebody to go to, especially in the alternative healthcare world, right? We're like considered the redheaded stepchildren.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And being the chiropractor, all I heard was, how it's always an uphill battle. We got the AMA against us. And then when you look at chiropractic journals, there's like ad after ad about how you don't know how to run a practice and it's difficult and it's hard and you need to sign up with my consulting group so we can help you be successful, because you can't be successful on your own, and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And so I really don't want people to have to go through the pain, the agony, the learning curve and that kind of stuff that I went through. And I did sign up for practice management groups. Before I opened my own practice in Colorado, I signed up with a practice management group, which ultimately turned out to be a disaster.
How many of them would you say are successful? Because I had the same experience. What would you say?
How many, what are successful?
Practice management. Like, when you go join a practice management firm and you sign up for their coaching and they're going to get you from 0 to 500 patients a day, baby, in 3 days. That's their promise.
And you're going to pay them a lot of money to do that.
And they don't fulfill.
And they don't fulfill because, in my experience, the main thing they're missing out on is the individuality of the doctor and what the doctor believes.
Woo, woo, shout out.
Doctor's belief systems.
It is so, so true, because everyone is so different. Every practitioner is so different. What your goals are different than what mine are. And the type of people that you want to see are different than the type of people I want to see. So your practice model is different than mine. It's so
motivating the doctor is different. And what all these practice managements, at least back in the day, wanted to do is put you in their box.
Right.
Here, follow these specific steps. Well, guess what? If you don't have the personality to do that, you ain't going to do it.
It's a big failure. And then you've wasted a lot of money and a lot of time. And then what happens, I found, as I've done the same thing, I found that clinicians then beat themselves up because they just spend a whole bunch of money and I got no value. And then they might even have a spouse on the other end saying, I told you, you may have that piece going on.
I'm tired of financing your hobby.
I have heard those words before. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It breaks my heart that there are, there's some good people out there like you that do a great job when you work with practitioners. And then there's a lot more shysters, but I think it's that way, I would say in general, across any kind of professional, situation. Like you get good accountants and you have great accountants, and you have good lawyers and great lawyers. So
right. And I found a practice management group, actually a couple that really helped me.
Good.
They didn't help me to the limit that I really wanted, but they helped me at that point in time with some things that ultimately long term played into my success. So that's another thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead. You keep going. I'm not going to interrupt.
That's the other thing about success. What is success? What is it? See, the people, we're chasing this thing, success, but nobody knows what it is. And if you're chasing success and you have it and you don't know that you have it, then you think you still need to keep chasing it. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's right.
So one of the things that I do with practitioners when I'm mentoring them is, what is your definition of success? For me, it was going to a restaurant and ordering what I wanted and not looking at the price.
Nice.
You know, and then picking up the tab for my friends, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just kind of one example, but we have to define, what does it mean to be successful? To have 100 patients a day, or can you be successful at 25 patients a day? Right.
And that's that also part of that success is when you say you have to know what it is, part of it is knowing where that balance is. Because sometimes we think success means that I just have to work like a workhorse and I don't have any family time. I don't have any downtime. And of course, according to the journals or, you know, what you hear or believe to be true, that it just takes, quote, a lot of work to build a practice. It's a lot of work. And I'm with you. I do not believe that that's true. I'm not saying there's not work involved.
Oh,
you
yeah, absolutely.
Just sit back and just hope the door's going to swing open and the phone's going to ring. There's some strategic work that has to be done in the way of marketing and setting up your business and your patient experience and all of that. But there's finding that level of success. I completely agree with you. It's different for every single practitioner.
Right. And, you know, as far as the hard work stuff goes, because like you were saying, we have to take action. Yeah. And I can't remember who I heard this from exactly, but you want to take inspired action.
That's so good. That's right.
When you're taking inspired action, it's not work. It's not a burden. It inspires you to help take the steps to create whatever it is that you want to create.
So how would you advise a clinician, a practitioner in this alternative healthcare space? How would you advise them to define what success looks like?
Oh, well, what I do when I'm working with a practitioner is I say, I want you to write down what your goals are. Don't judge them. Just write down anything that comes into your brain and then send it to me. And let's take a look at this. And then I can help guide them into a little bit more specific. Okay, you want to be successful. What does that mean? What does that look like to you? You want to be abundant. Okay, what does that look like to you? So then I take them and I start getting them to think more specifically about what's going on. And then the other thing I like to do, and I again, not sure where I exactly picked this up, but I like to ask them, what's the buts? So I wrote down one time in my goals, I wanted my own jet plane. And then I had a but jump in my head, and it was my mom's voice. Oh. But it's expensive, it's extravagant, it's unnecessary. Why do you think you need that? Blah, 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 blah. And I sat there and I went, okay, well, that's helping uncovering some of my limited beliefs as to why I should have a jet plane. Right. But I thought about it a little bit more, and then I asked myself, well, what does a jet plane represent? It represents freedom to go where I want, when I want. Do I really need to have my own jet plane to do that? No. So what's out there? There's options like jet sharing, basically. Right?
Exactly.
Buying a piece of a jet, or again, just having that mindset that if I want to hop on a plane and go to Cancun, I can do it. I don't have to worry about, you know, not being able to afford it or whatever else. So it was really about the freedom. But getting back to the premise of when I write something down, if there's a but in my head, that's uncovering a limited belief system that's going to stop me from getting what I want.
That is so good. I love that. I think about limiting beliefs, but I think about them and work with doctors in a little bit of a different way. But I think I'm going to steal that from you because it is so good. Like,
you can steal it.
What are the buts? What are the things that you say, yeah, but I don't know about that? And it could be a parent. It could be a spouse. It could be something you learned or saw when you were in school. It could have been something you saw in a movie or any kind of pre-programmed belief that's going to limit your success. So on that note, though, what would you say? Let's say the top maybe 2 or 3 biggest roadblocks, and they might be limiting beliefs, that you see with practitioners that you work with. What are the top 3 things? What would you say?
Definitely at the top is limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Buying the lie. What lie did you buy into? I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. oh, this is going to be hard. Well, you know, we're chiropractors and we're not real doctors. People aren't going to spend money on nutrition, or people aren't going to pay me cash because they've got insurance. So these are all just all limiting beliefs. And to me, that's the top thing is getting people to think differently.
Right.
And
another one.
I would just sum it up right there. I don't even think we need to go to 2 or 3.
Okay, fair enough. So
That's
then
it.
if we were going to dive into the limiting beliefs, then what would be the top 3?
What'd be the top 3
What
limiting
do you
beliefs?
hear? I want to see if your 3 are the same as my 3.
I think, well, one is I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah. Another one is I don't know enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of doctors. Well, you know, I want to know everything before I start incorporating nutrition. I'm like,
No.
that's the one thing I did. I mean, I was like, I went to a seminar. I had a procedure. I went back to the office Monday. It was contact reflex analysis, good old Dick Bersendahl. And I just implemented that right then and there. I didn't know what beta food was. I had no clue what was in beta food. All I knew is beta food went with gallbladder.
That's right.
Boom.
That's all we need to know.
That's all we need to know. So I think that's another thing. People don't think they know enough yet to get started. And then, of course, you know, we all make excuses.
Yeah.
We all make excuses. So, you know, we got to do away with the excuses, and we got to take responsibility. We got to take personal responsibility for I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Well, I didn't have enough time. Okay, that's an excuse because you had time to watch TV.
That's right. I was at a Tony Robbins seminar several years ago.
Yeah.
And I learned so much. I actually went to 3 of them. And one of them was a business mastery one. And I loved that. And because I'm always wanting to learn. Like, I love business, and I love business. I'm a serial entrepreneur, just love business. And one of the things that I learned there, which had never occurred to me before, well, there were 2 key things. One, as it has to do with our conversation, is that life, and in fact, I have it right here on my desk, life is happening for you.
Uh-huh.
Life is happening not to you. Life doesn't happen to you, but it happens for you. And the first time I heard that, I thought, oh no. He's wrong. Nope. Life is crappy sometimes, and it just is crappy, and that doesn't have anything to do with me. It's just what's out there. It's things I don't have control over. It's the things that happen to me that I don't like. Someone was mean to me, or I had a patient that got squirrely, or I had an argument with my spouse, or whatever. But when I realized that all of those things that are happening for me, because if I keep coming up to your point against the same limiting belief and that same thought that, you know, whether it's an imposter syndrome or I'm too busy, that's my line. Like, oh, I'm so busy.
Right.
Well, if I keep saying it, what am I going to get? More of the same thing. That is a limiting belief. I don't have to be too busy.
Right.
I can choose to have as much busy as I want or not want, but having that stuff come up again and again and again in my space gives the signal for me that something needs to change. Right.
And you said the key word there, choose.
It's my choice.
The only thing you have control over is you. You don't have control over anything else. You have no control over that patient buying supplements from you.
That's right. Or online or not. I have no control over that. Right.
So the only thing we have that we have control over is us, and we can choose how we're going to respond to our situations.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a huge thing. You know, and then you were also talking about that you're an entrepreneur. You like making money. Well, then there's me. There's a guy like me who, this idea of making money is a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating, but I love helping people. So I have to reframe that in that I'm going to help the people, and I'm going to trust the process that the money's going to come back. But I still have to take steps, right. to put that in place.
And you know,
I appreciate what you said there.
That's a good, let's go down that topic of conversation, because I would say on my side that money comes up a lot. Working with a mentor, the place that I find that a lot of practitioners get stuck is when you start having the conversation about the M word.
Right.
And where those limiting beliefs are around money. And it's often what we either saw as children, or what we were told, or lack of belief that that's even possible. And it's
Right.
not about, I think that the conflict that occurs in the practitioner's mind, and I've dealt with the same thing, is that our number one goal is to help people. We want
Right.
to help, we want to serve, we want to give, we want to do whatever we can to help that patient that walks in the door feel better. And when there's a financial limitation that the patient experiences, we tend to say, well, all right, I'll treat you for free, or
Right.
I won't charge you enough, or here, you can just have the supplements and they can pay for
Yeah.
them next time. And I love about our profession, so to speak, in the alternative space. I love that. I love that heart to want to care for
Right.
people. But you're going to end up broke and naked, sleeping on your mother's couch in her basement. What the heck?
And you're not going to be able to help anybody.
And you can't help anybody, and you're not going to be happy.
Right.
So happy is the choice that we make at that moment, not making the patient's financial thing my problem, because I don't have
Right.
control over that. What
Right.
I do have control over is me. And the fact that we have to be able to make money in order to serve more people is a concept that so many practitioners don't. It's like we know it, but we don't get it inside. We have to make money in order to impact more people. The more money you make, the more impact you can have.
Yeah, and I think practitioners in this field get confused because a lot of people are just such a loving kind of nature, and they just want to help people, that they let that love get in the way of, hey, I gotta make some money. But we also have to understand that equal exchange, that law of exchange.
That's right.
In a conversation you and I had a few weeks ago, I mean, you really brought that up clear. There's got to be a fair exchange going on.
Right. That's right.
If I'm going to help you, you want to reciprocate, you want to do something to help me. Sometimes that's money, sometimes it's something else. So we have to understand, because going back to what you're saying about giving the supplements away or giving free treatment away, those are the worst patients.
They are the worst.
They don't stick around. They don't stick around. And do you really want them to refer? No, because they're going to refer people just like them.
Exactly.
And there's this whole unfair exchange thing happening on. So now the relationship isn't very good.
And then it doesn't feel good when it doesn't work, because then they don't come back, and then you feel guilty. And then there's all the, well, I gave them so much money worth of this, or I treated them for free, then listen, time out, stop right there. The only person responsible for that is you. That's it. I'm out. Like hey, you did that. I just did a case study inside Clinical Academy. And we were talking about a patient that I had, and it was the same thing. And I did it. And I know better. Know better. It's what
but we get sucked in. We get sucked into the moment. Go ahead.
I was so frustrated with myself when I realized it, because what happened was I didn't give the supplements away, but I gave my time away, because I was just trying to help. And it wasn't that the person couldn't afford it, but it was someone I knew, was a friend. And I thought, okay, well, I'll help. I'm really happy to help you. And so as a friend, never treat your friends. That's really number one. Family or friends, refer them out always. But what happened was I ended up going down this road, and I wasn't getting good information. And my friend was not intentionally withholding information. And so I couldn't do what I needed to do, because her goals were different than my goals. And now that relationship is a little strained, because she left and went to do something different. And then she's kind of upset with me, and I feel bad. It was a train wreck at the end. And I know better, and I did it anyway.
Well, you said something really important there about your goals and her goals.
Yes.
And I have found myself a lot of times when I'm talking to the patients, and I'll just flat out be honest. I go, look, my goal for you is this, whatever it happens to be. I said, but if your goal is something different, we need to get on the same page on what our goals are, because now we're going to have two different types of expectations going on here.
Right.
I'm here to service you. What is your goal? Right. And their goal might be, I just want to get out of pain. Okay.
Right. Okay. Then that's how I can help you.
Yeah.
So we've kind of gone on a big wide circle here.
Yeah.
When you're talking with practitioners and you're working with them as a mentor, as a coach, how do you language this conversation in a way that someone can really get it? It's easy to have the conversation because it's kind of ethereal, like exchange of time versus energy, you know, that money time exchange. It has to be even, and don't treat your friends and family. But how do you have that conversation with them where you get them to have that mentoring aha moment?
Oh, I just keep asking why.
Mm.
Just keep asking why. So, you know, let's say that we have a patient or a practitioner that's afraid to sell supplements. Well, why? Well, because I don't want to be labeled as the guy that's the pill pusher. Well, why? And I just keep asking why until they can't come up with any more excuses. And somewhere along the why questions, you'll come up with their limiting belief. And then go back to Tony Robbins, right? And Tony Robbins had his birth in neurolinguistic programming using the patient's own words.
Yeah.
So using their own words to help them realize where they're stuck.
Right.
Now, I'm a big fan of NET, neuro-emotional technique. Helped me out a lot. So what I'll do with these practitioners after I kind of figure out what is an underlying core belief lie that they bought into, then we'll go do some NET on it. And then that helps erase the physiology, as if you will.
Right.
And then
right.
now they can input some new information so they can make the changes a lot faster.
Right. Because it does tend to be, it's like a circle. It's like a dog chasing their tail. Like it just keeps going around and around, and the conversation never has a loop. So what you're really doing is a loop interrupt, is what I call it. You're stopping and saying, but why? So that stops the dog. Like, well, I don't know. Why am I chasing my tail? I don't know why I'm chasing my tail. Let's see. Why might I be doing that? Because it looks interesting. Well, why does it look interesting? And off you go down that, down that path. I love that. That's so great. That is so great. So what else, when you work with a practitioner, our topic for today, although we've not really stuck with it too much, but is why it's so important to have a mentor. Give me another reason why.
Because you need to have somebody that you can go to when you get stuck.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
That's absolutely the biggest thing. And so, you know, hopefully I'll tell you a quick story. So I have a lady that I mentored. Her name is Angela. When I first met Angela, was at one of my seminars here in Denver, and I looked at her. I said, "So Angela, what do you do?" She goes, "I'm a nutritionist." I go, "Oh, where's your practice?" She goes, "Oh, I don't have a practice." I go, "Why not?" She goes, "Because I'm a mom." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, why don't you have a practice?" And she looked at me like, "Well, because I'm a mom." I go,
"Dummy,
all right.
Why don't you listen the first time?"
Yeah, right. What'd you go to school for? Well, I went to school for a nutritionist. And you don't have a practice? She goes, "Well, no." I go, "Why not?" She goes, "Well, because I got 3 little kids at home." I go, "I understand that. I get it. Did anybody tell you could do both?" And she sat back and she was like, "Well, no."
Aww.
So we just opened up the door that, hey, I said, "Look, just set up the rules. The rules are you're a mom. Kids come first. How many hours a week can you work?" "I can work 5 hours a week." I go, "Your problem is you're going to get too busy." Right? Going to fill up 5 hours. I mean, that's nothing. So Angela does it. She starts seeing people. She starts letting people know out there that she's seeing people. And she's going along and things are, and then what do I get? I get the call. She goes, "I'm too busy." I go, "Well, why are you too busy?" I said, "Because you didn't set the boundaries. You lost sight of what's going on."
Yeah.
So then I get another call from Angela. And she goes, "You know, things have been going really pretty good, but lately they've been really slow." I said, "Well, Angela, your practice is like a faucet. You can turn it on and turn it off. You turn it on by getting back in tune with your practice, the law of attraction. Get back in tune with your practice, right? What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, okay." A few weeks later, I get another call from Angela. I go, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I'm too busy." I go, "Angela, you don't have to turn the faucet on all the way.
Exactly.
She goes, "Well, why didn't you tell me that?" Anyway, so now Angela, I mean, the kids are grown. It's been over a course of years. Her practice has taken on this different life. And several years ago, she was making enough money. She was making the house payment, right?
Aww.
She was making the house payment. Now she's kicking it. I mean, she's honestly one of my best accounts, but it's just, it's like an example of helping them open up and seeing that there's other options that they can do. They don't have to be stuck in this situation.
Even something like sharing an office, There's a lot of creative ways you can do it. You can find another practitioner that just wants to work part-time, and both of you go in together, you share an office and share the utilities, and you divide up your time appropriately. You can rent a space, you can, whatever it looks like for you, your definition of, which is what we talked about at first, success. What does success look like? For her, for your account, Angie, is that what she said?
Angela.
Yeah. For Angela, it was that she only wanted to work 5 hours a week. But then she found out that she could work more, wasn't sure she wanted to work more, and it ebbed and flowed. And that's another beautiful thing about being a clinician, is that as the seasons of your life change, your practice flavor and style may have to change. And it's completely okay.
Yeah, and your practice will take on a life of its own. It'll have its own identity, and so it's going to ebb and flow. It's going to go up and down. Well, I'm slow right now. Well, what are you thinking about? Well, I'm thinking about all the disaster in the politic world. Well, get off of that. Think about your practice.
That's right.
So, and again, I tell people that, what worked for me. I mean, if you're kind of stuck, if you're not moving, transition your brain from asking for things, or if you're a prayer person, quit asking God for stuff and start thanking God for stuff.
Yes, that's right.
And when you start thanking every day for the patients who want and need your help and are willing to pay for it, now things shift. And now you move into this place, and the next thing you know, you wake up one day and you go, wow, I'm busy. Wow, I like being busy. And then you start expecting to be busy. And when you start expecting it to be busy, then it rolls. And then you have a patient that doesn't show up, and you go, thank God, I needed a break.
That's how I am too. Do not fill the spot. Leave it open. I got things to do. I'm good. I'm thankful for that. And also, that person, they weren't meant to be there that day.
Yeah.
Or they would have been there.
That's right.
I never get upset about that. But I love what you just said, and I want to move that direction just for a minute. So, as I mentioned before we went live on the podcast, I was up last night and I wasn't sleeping. I woke up a little early, and it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and my mind was just worrying, and I've got, my to-do list is really long right now, and we're getting ready to launch Clinical Academy and open it back up for enrollment. And so it's just, things are real busy. So I'm laying in bed, and you know how when you're in that half sleep, half awake state, you sometimes don't have full control over what you're thinking until you wake up enough that you can get control over what you're thinking. And what I noticed was I was thinking, I was on the hamster wheel of, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I need to call that person, and I forgot to get back to that person, and I got to do, and then my body starts to not feel good, right? Because we start going down the rabbit hole of all that negative thinking. And I woke up kind of out of that state, and I thought, oh, no. We're going to shift that right now, because I'll never get back to sleep if I've got that going on. And I consciously shifted and started to do exactly what you said. I just started to be thankful for this person, and the fact that I had the opportunity to get back to them tomorrow, and I have the opportunity to serve this person. I have the opportunity to write that email copy, or whatever it is. And it was shortly after that I actually was able to fall back asleep. So even the change in your physiology, not just what happens up here, but there's literally a physical change in our bodies when we get this head space right. Then the body starts to line up. Not only is the energy better, but then your body feels better, which is just then an extension of that energy that you're putting out there as well.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Lowell, you are a rock star. I'm so thankful for you. And although our conversation sort of went everywhere, it was good, still good, about the importance of having a mentor. But I think all the things that we talked about are things that when you find that person that speaks your language and gets you, in other words, they know how to unravel what your limiting beliefs are, or your excuses about why you can't do something. When you find that right person that can help you do that, and I recommend everyone has a coach or a mentor, because we've got enough challenges to deal with on a business day-to-day basis, but having that person that can help you get your head straight so that you can play full out in the game of life and the game of your business and the game of being a clinician, so that you can get the results and impact more people, and then make an income that you deserve or that you want, whatever level that looks like. But I can't overemphasize it. And so that's why I knew I wanted to talk to you about this, because you are so good at working with these practitioners. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'm so grateful.
Always a pleasure. Anytime.
Well,
Thank you.
my friends, thank you for joining me. If you are listening, be sure that you download the episode on your favorite place that you get your podcast, so iTunes or Stitcher or wherever, and leave us a review if you love it, and especially if you love Dr. Lowell Keppel, because he's a rock star. You could let us know that too. But otherwise, we'll be back next week on Tuesday with another edition of the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.